Welcome to our exploration of simulating evolutionary processes in biology. Evolution is the gradual change in living organisms over generations, driven by mechanisms like natural selection, mutation, and genetic drift. By simulating these processes, scientists can better understand how species adapt and diversify. In this video, we'll journey through the basics of evolution, the reasons for simulating it, and the fascinating insight these simulations provide. Let's begin by laying the foundation. What exactly is evolution, and why is it so central to biology? Evolution refers to the process by which populations of organisms change over time. These changes are often subtle and accumulate across many generations, eventually leading to the emergence of new species. The key drivers of evolution include genetic mutations, natural selection, and genetic drift. Understanding these mechanisms helps us appreciate the incredible diversity of life on Earth. In the next scene, we'll look at why scientists are interested in simulating these evolutionary processes. Simulating evolution allows researchers to test hypotheses about how species adapt and evolve under different conditions. These simulations can reveal patterns and outcomes that might take thousands or millions of years to observe in nature. By using computer models, scientists can manipulate variables like mutation rates or environmental pressures, gaining insights into the dynamics of evolution. Next, we'll explore the basic components needed to build an evolutionary simulation. Simulate evolution, several core elements are required. First, a population of virtual organisms, each with a set of genetic traits. Second, rules for reproduction, mutation, and inheritance. Third, an environment that influences survival and reproduction. By combining these elements, simulations can mimic real-world evolutionary processes. Let's break down each of these components in more detail, starting with the virtual population. Virtual population in a simulation represents a group of digital organisms. Each organism is defined by a set of genes, which determine its traits and behaviors. These populations can be as simple as a few individuals or as complex as thousands, depending on the goals of the simulation. By observing how these populations change over time, researchers can study evolutionary trends and patterns. Next, we'll discuss how genetic variation is introduced. Genetic variation is essential for evolution. In simulations, this variation is often introduced through random mutations, small changes in the genetic code of organisms. These mutations can result in new traits, some of which may provide advantages or disadvantages in the simulated environment. Over generations, beneficial mutations may become more common, while harmful ones may disappear. Let's see how selection acts on this variation. Natural selection is the process by which certain traits become more common in a population because they offer a survival or reproductive advantage. In simulations, organisms with advantageous traits are more likely to survive and reproduce, passing those traits to the next generation. Over time, this leads to adaptation and the evolution of new features. Next, we'll look at how genetic drift can also influence evolution. Genetic drift refers to random changes in the frequency of traits within a population. Unlike natural selection, which is driven by advantages or disadvantages, genetic drift is purely random. In small populations, these random changes can have a significant impact, sometimes leading to the loss of certain traits altogether. Simulations help scientists observe how genetic drift can shape populations over time, especially in isolated or small groups. Mutations are random changes in the genetic material of organisms. In simulations, mutation rates can be adjusted to see how quickly new traits appear and spread. Some mutations are neutral, some are beneficial, and others are harmful. By observing the effects of different mutation rates, researchers can better understand the balance between stability and adaptability in evolving populations. Inheritance determines how traits are passed from one generation to the next. In simulations, rules for inheritance are programmed to mimic real-life genetics, such as Mendelian inheritance or more complex patterns. These rules ensure that offspring receive a combination of traits from their parents, allowing for the mixing and reshuffling of genes each generation. This genetic shuffling is crucial for maintaining diversity in population. Environment plays a key role in shaping evolution. In simulations, environmental factors like temperature, food availability, or predators can be adjusted to see how populations respond. By changing these variables, researchers can test how different pressures influence the direction and speed of evolution. This helps us understand how real organisms adapt to changing environments. Fitness landscapes are a way to visualize how different traits affect an organism's chances of survival and reproduction. In simulations, these landscapes help researchers see which combinations of traits are most successful. Peaks represent high fitness while valleys indicate low fitness. By navigating these landscapes, populations can evolve toward optimal trait combinations or sometimes get stuck in less advantageous positions. Selection pressure refers to any factor that influences which traits are favored in a population. In simulations, researchers can introduce different types of selection pressures, such as predation, disease, or competition for resources. By observing how populations respond, scientists gain insights into the forces that drive evolutionary change in nature. Speciation is the process by which new species arise. In simulations, speciation can occur when populations become isolated and evolve independently. Over time, genetic differences accumulate, eventually leading to the emergence of distinct species. Simulating speciation helps researchers understand the conditions and processes that drive the diversity of life on Earth. Migration, or the movement of individuals between populations, introduces new genetic material and increases diversity. In simulations, gene flow can be modeled by allowing virtual organisms to move between groups. This exchange of genes helps prevent populations from becoming too genetically isolated and can speed up adaptation to new environments. Population bottleneck occurs when a population's size is drastically reduced, often due to environmental disasters or disease. In simulations, bottlenecks can be introduced to study their effects on genetic diversity. These events often lead to a loss of genetic variation and can have long-lasting impacts on the evolutionary potential of populations. Founder effect occurs when a new population is established by a small number of individuals. In simulations, this can be modeled by starting a new group with only a few organisms. The genetic makeup of this small group can greatly influence the traits of future generations, sometimes leading to rapid evolutionary changes. Adaptive radiation is when a single ancestral species rapidly diversifies into many different forms. In simulations, this can be observed when a population enters a new environment with many available niches. The organisms evolve to fill these niches, resulting in a burst of new species with varied traits. Coevolution occurs when two or more species influence each other's evolution. In simulations, this can be modeled by having virtual predators and prey or plants and pollinators evolve together. The adaptations of one species drive changes in the other, leading to a dynamic evolutionary arms race. Sexual selection is a special type of natural selection where traits are favored because they increase an organism's chances of attracting mates. In simulations, traits like bright colors or elaborate displays can be programmed to influence mating success. Over time, these traits can become more pronounced, even if they don't directly improve survival. Artificial selection is when humans intentionally select for certain traits in plants or animals. In simulations, this can be modeled by allowing users to choose which virtual organisms reproduce. This process mimics how humans have bred crops and domesticated animals for thousands of years, shaping their evolution to suit our needs. Extinction is the permanent loss of a species. In simulations, extinction can occur if a population fails to adapt to changing conditions or faces insurmountable challenges. By modeling extinction events, researchers can study the factors that make populations vulnerable and explore strategies for conservation. Evolutionary algorithms are computer programs inspired by natural evolution. They use principles like selection, mutation, and crossover to solve complex problems. In biology, these algorithms help researchers simulate evolution and optimize solutions, from designing new drugs to improving crop yields. Genetic algorithms are a type of evolutionary algorithm that uses populations of candidate solutions, selection, and genetic operators like crossover and mutation. These algorithms are widely used in simulations to model how populations evolve and adapt over time, providing valuable insights into evolutionary dynamics. Agent-based models simulate the actions and interactions of individual organisms, or agents, within a population. Each agent follows simple rules, but their collective behavior can lead to complex evolutionary patterns. These models are especially useful for studying social behaviors and group dynamics in evolving populations. Parameter tuning involves adjusting the settings of a simulation, such as mutation rates or selection strength, to explore different evolutionary outcomes. By systematically changing these parameters, researchers can test how sensitive evolution is to various factors and identify the conditions that lead to specific patterns. Visualization tools help researchers interpret the results of evolutionary simulations. Graphs, charts, and animations can show how populations change over time, track the spread of traits, and highlight key evolutionary events. These visualizations make complex data more accessible and reveal patterns that might otherwise go unnoticed. Digital organisms are computer programs that replicate, mutate, and evolve in a virtual environment. By studying these digital life forms, researchers can observe evolutionary processes in real time, test evolutionary theories, and even discover new principles that apply to both digital and biological systems. Simulations are also used to study how diseases evolve, such as viruses developing resistance to drugs. By modeling the spread and mutation of pathogens, researchers can predict future outbreaks, design better treatments, and develop strategies to slow the evolution of resistance. Artificial life simulations create virtual worlds where digital organisms evolve, interact, and adapt. These simulations help scientists explore fundamental questions about life, evolution, and complexity, offering a unique perspective on how simple rules can give rise to intricate behaviors and forms. In evolutionary robotics, robots are designed and improved using evolutionary algorithms. These robots can adapt to new tasks or environments, and their designs evolve over generations. Simulating evolution in robotics leads to innovative solutions and helps engineers build more adaptable machines. Evolutionary game theory uses mathematical models to study how strategies evolve in populations. In simulations, organisms adopt different strategies, and their success depends on interactions with others. This approach helps explain behaviors like cooperation, competition, and altruism in nature. Simulations can also model the evolution of humans, exploring how our ancestors adapted to changing environments, developed new technologies, and formed complex societies. These models provide insights into our evolutionary history and the factors that shaped modern humans. Educational simulations make evolutionary concepts accessible to students and the public. Interactive models allow users to experiment with variables, observe outcomes, and gain a deeper understanding of how evolution works. These tools are valuable for teaching and inspiring curiosity about biology. Simulating evolution is not without challenges. Accurately modeling complex biological systems requires careful design and significant computational power. Simplifications are often necessary, but they can limit the realism of the results. Researchers must balance detail with practicality to create useful simulations. Ethical considerations arise when simulating evolution, especially when models are used to inform decisions about conservation, medicine, or biotechnology. Researchers must ensure that simulations are used responsibly and that their limitations are clearly communicated to avoid misinterpretation. Future of simulating evolutionary processes is bright. Advances in computing power, artificial intelligence, and data collection are making simulations more realistic and informative. Researchers are developing new models that can handle greater complexity and provide deeper insights into the mysteries of evolution. Simulations are increasingly used in conservation biology to predict how species will respond to environmental changes, habitat loss, or climate change. By modeling different scenarios, scientists can develop strategies to protect endangered species and preserve biodiversity. Plant evolution can also be simulated, allowing researchers to study how crops adapt to changing climates, pests, or diseases. These simulations help breeders develop more resilient varieties and ensure food security in a rapidly changing world. Microbial evolution is particularly important for understanding antibiotic resistance and disease outbreaks. Simulations allow researchers to track how bacteria and viruses evolve in response to treatments, helping to inform public health strategies and drug development. Evolutionary networks model the relationships between genes, traits, and species. By simulating these networks, researchers can study how complex interactions shape evolutionary outcomes and identify key factors that drive adaptation and diversification. Open-ended evolution refers to simulations where there is no predefined goal or endpoint. These models allow for the continuous emergence of new forms and behaviors, closely mirroring the unpredictability and creativity of evolution in nature. Collaborative simulations involve teams of researchers working together, often across disciplines, to build and analyze complex evolutionary models. These collaborations bring together expertise from biology, computer science, mathematics, and more, leading to richer and more accurate simulations. Some evolutionary simulations invite public participation, allowing citizen scientists to contribute data, test hypotheses, or even help design experiments. This approach democratizes science and fosters a greater appreciation for the complexity of evolution. Simulating evolutionary processes in biology opens up a world of discovery. These simulations help us understand the mechanisms of evolution, predict future changes, and solve real-world problems in health, agriculture, and conservation. As technology advances, our ability to model and explore evolution will only grow, offering new insights into the story of life itself. Thank you for joining us on this fascinating journey through simulated evolution.